Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from the rule well. Peace had tasted 144,000, and the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Unto you I say shalom. Come to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. And the title for this is going to be, We Got the Truth. Because these people out here in the world, from the 2/3 of the nation of Israel and these heathen nations, they don't have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that was given unto the hopeful elect. You know, what they take pride in is having worldly possessions, either from their careers, you know, their so-called possessions, their cars, their careers, their jobs. You know, a lot of these men take pride in their women. You know, they have their head up their women's ass, and pretty much just caught up in the cares of the world, not knowing that everything's about to get taken away in the blink of an eye. Because when this devil, Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, shuts down this system, this current system, being ran by the U.S. dollar, and transfers, you know, that old system that is using cash to that new digital system. Pretty much everything that these people have, from their jobs, their careers, you know, and whatever possessions, worldly possessions they have accumulated, it's all going to get taken away in a second. But us, in this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we know that we're going to have to walk away from everything that, you know, we so-called established in this world, you know, from our jobs to or careers, you know, families. Even if, you know, we have a little bit of in the savings account, you know, that's all going to have to be put away when that new digital system gets implemented. And the only way to get back into it, you know, get back plugged into it, is going to be the way by taking that charagma, that MOTB, that micro CHIP, that Revelation 13 and 16, which 2/3 of our people are going to go down to these stations, you know, where they're going to offer it as a solution to everything that's going on, to so-called get things back to normal. Like 5 years ago, you had the C-demic, you know, the COVID-19. And what did this devil offer as a solution? He offered that juice, you know, that stab, that you know, the thing that goes on your arm. And that was a it was a foreshadowing, you know, of what was to come in the near future, because we know that was a way of Esau, Edom, testing his new N to the O, his N to the W to the O system, to see how these people react. And majority of the people went out there, they rolled their sleeve, you know, because they didn't have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You know, 2/3 of our people went down. They offered them a burger, a gift card to McDonald's. You know, some of them even were willing to take that juice to keep their jobs. And it's going to be the same thing when all hell breaks loose. These people lose their jobs. They lose all their bank account savings, their gold and silver, you know, their stocks in the stock market, their 401ks. And what this devil Esau Edom is going to do is going to offer that solution of taking that charagma, that micro CHIP. And a lot of our people, 2/3 of the nation of Israel, they're going to go down there and take it without hesitation, because ultimately they lack the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that was given unto the hopeful elect. You know, because we know that if we take that charagma, that micro CHIP, written in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16, then we're going to have to, get put in that lake of fire, that second death. And that's why we know not to take it, because that's a sin that we can't repent from. Taking that charagma, because a lot of our people, they're going to take that charagma and try to pull a fast one on the Most High. They're going to take the charagma and then take it out and then call upon Yahweh Shem Yahushua and tell him, like, hey, I didn't take it. I took it out. But no, you took it, you bowed down to this devil Esau Edom. Because ultimately they really didn't fear the Lord. They didn't have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to know not to take it because of what comes with it. And it's going to be that second death, that lake of fire. And 2/3 of our people are going to get put in it for their lack of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, for not fearing Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And rightfully so, because when they had the time to get that oil, gather up that oil, build up their faith so they know not to take it, to not trust in this devil Esau Edom, to not go down to Egypt and roll up their sleeve. They didn't take heed to the message of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. They scoffed, they mocked at it. They said that, that micro seed was never going to come. And now that this system is being established by the way of AI, by this devil Elon Musk and Donald Trump, now the signs are clear that we're heading towards that digital system. But 2/3 of the nation of Israel, they're not going to know what to do. They're not going to know to not take it. They're going to bow down to this devil Esau Edom and ultimately be destroyed. But us in this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that's been given the truth, we know not to take it. We know not to lean on Esau Edom. We know to lean on Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, because we're going to have to walk away from all this in Babylon the Great America. We're going to have to lose our jobs. Our families are going to turn on us. They're going to give us up to the authorities. The so-called be straight. The so-called be able to have a job and go to these grocery stores and buy food. They weren't given the truth like it was given to the hopeful elect. That's why us in this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that know that we have the 100% truth, we cherish this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding because we know how valuable it is. So when all hell breaks loose, us in the know, we know of all the hell that's about to take place, from Jacob's trouble, martial law, the hour of temptation, and we know how to be stable in those times. So I'm going to get the scripture. This is Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, is his treasure. And that's the true treasure, the fear of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, having that wisdom. Because what's the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord, fearing Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, because now you know not to do certain things. Because if you do them, if you go out there and commit sin on top of sin, iniquity, willingly, then he's going to judge your ass, because you know not to do it. You know not to commit adultery. You know not to eat abominable foods. You know not to worship these false gods, these false idols. You know not to take that charagma, that MOTB, Revelation 13 and chapter 16, because of what the repercussions are of taking it, what the consequences are, the lake of fire, that second death, because ultimately you were disobedient to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You didn't fear him. But us in this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we're going to be stable, because we know what not to do. We know not to take it. We know not to go out there and commit sin on top of sin without a care in the world, without fearing Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, walking circumspectly, especially in the times we're in, because we're in evil times, where this devil, the self-proclaimed white man, Esau Edom, is going to come down with that great wrath, because he knows he has a short time. This is Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 7. The fear of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. So that's the beginning of wisdom, the fear of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, coming back to your true power, repenting and turning back to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. But 2/3 of our people, they despise wisdom, they despise instruction, they despise authority. So they rather continue to do their own thing, and what that's going to lead them to is going to lead them to get put to death, to be destroyed, to be put in that lake of fire for despising wisdom and instruction. But us that are in this truth, that have the 100% truth through faith, we know of what to do and of what not to do, because if we do what Yahweh Bashim Yahushai commanded us, then we know that we'll be delivered out of this destruction, this pending doom that's about to come upon the souls of America. Lord willing, we're a part of that number. And we know what's going to happen to those who are disobedient to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and what their end is going to be. This is Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 10. Receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. Verse 11, for wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. So wisdom, the fear of the Lord, is more precious than rubies, more precious than silver and choice gold. Because ultimately, this knowledge, wisdom and understanding, this truth, is what's going to be able to deliver you. Calling upon the true names of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, serving him in truth and sincerity, without any deceit, without any guile, like these other Israelites that know that they're Israelites are doing. They're serving Yahweh, so-called serving Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. They think that they're in the truth, but they're not. They're breaking down the scriptures wrong. They're not teaching what the true breakdown of Revelation chapter 13 and 16 is. They're not telling them that it's the micro Sihib, and if you take it, you're going to be destroyed. You're going to be put in that lake of fire. They're not warning their congregation. They're not warning their flock of the dangers to come. So they really aren't in the truth. They don't really have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. They don't really have the fear of the Lord. Because one thing that they love to push is the law, the law, the law. They're going to be able to be delivered by the law. But what's the law is a commandment. And one commandment that they're not pushing is the micro Sihib, to not take the micro Sihib, written in Revelation chapter 13 and 16, that Kuragma. This is Ezekiel chapter 7 and verse 19. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of wrath of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. So when all hell breaks loose, when this economic system, the economic collapse takes place, even the gold and silver that our people and these heathens have, it's not going to be able to deliver them. It's not going to do them any good. So it's going to get to the point where they're just going to throw it away. They're not going to have any understanding of what's going on. And ultimately, they're going to bow down their knee to this devil Esau Edom, to so-called get their life back to normality by taking that Sihib, by taking that Kuragma. And 2/3 of our people, that's what they're going to do, because ultimately all those riches that they accumulated, that they gather over the years here in America, because a lot of our people, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, they're doing pretty well for themselves. They're well off. All these NBA players, these NFL players, all these different so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans with businesses that are, worth millions and are doing well for themselves. These are the ones who are going to go down there and take that Kuragma to get their wealth back, to have a so-called normal life back in society. But ultimately, it's a stumbling block that Yahweh Bashim Yahushai put up on them, ultimately to lead them to get destroyed, because they weren't part of the elect. They were part of the 2/3. But in their minds, they think that all the blessings that they've been given, all the millions, all the billions of dollars, all the women, cars, clothes, whatever status, fame, that it was given from up high, that it was Yahweh Bashim Yahushai blessing them because he favored them. But what they don't know is that ultimately it was a stumbling block so they could be destroyed. But in their mind, they think that it's a good thing to be blessed with all these worldly possessions, it ultimately is going to be a stumbling block, because ultimately it was given by Satan. It was riches of this world, not riches from the heavens. This is Matthew chapter 6 and verse 19. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through nor steal. Verse 20, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. Verse 21, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So the hopeful elect, the elect will not be laying up treasures here on earth, because ultimately all this gold and silver, the US dollars you're stashing up under your mattress, all these different canned goods, whatever you have in your bunker, it's not going to be able to deliver you in the day of calamity when all hell breaks loose. The only thing that's going to be able to deliver is Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, calling upon the true names of the Lord. But the only ones who are really going to lean upon those names for deliverance, for safety, for covering are going to be the elect. The rest of our people, they're not going to be calling upon Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And even the ones that do have the names, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is not going to answer them, because ultimately they're not calling upon those names in truth and sincerity. They're calling upon the names out of desperation, because right now they're not calling upon the names. They're not worried about the Lord. They're not worried about Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai and serving Him in truth and sincerity when those doors of mercy are still open. Right now they're storing up treasures up on earth, where Edom's going to break through and steal them and take them all away. And the only way he's going to so-called give them back is by taking that MOTB, by taking that Charagma. Us in His knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we're storing up these treasures. We're storing up treasures up in heaven, building up that spiritual bank account, gathering up that oil while there's still an opportunity, because when all hell breaks loose, you're not going to be able to store up those treasures up in heaven. But us have been storing up these treasures in heaven. We're going to be able to access those treasures when all hell breaks loose, having that fear of the Lord, having that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of what to do and of what not to do. This is Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 12. And I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. So the men of the Lord, the true men of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, they have the 100% truth and are preaching it to their congregation, to the flock, in truth and sincerity, without any gimmicks, any guile. They're going to be more precious than fine gold in that day of calamity when all hell is breaking loose. Like in Isaiah 4 and 1, 7 women shall take hold of one man, because of the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we have, because of the understanding of what to do and of what not to do. People are going to be seeking the men of the Lord for answers to what to do, what's going on, what's going to be the end, of all this that's taking place upon America. This is Matthew chapter 13 and verse 9. Who had ears to hear, let him hear. Verse 10, and the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? Verse 11, he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. It isn't given to these 2/3, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, of what comes with serving Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, and what's the end of America. All these different mysteries that we've been given, us of the hopeful elect, they weren't given to the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. That's why when all hell breaks loose, they're going to be bugging out. They're not going to be stable. They're going to be losing their minds of what's going on. And that's why they're going to go down there to these seed hipping stations and take that Charagma without hesitation, because it wasn't given unto them to not take it, and what's going to come with it if you take that Charagma. It was only given unto the elect. That's why they're going to be able to be preserved through the power and spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Not of our own doing. Romans chapter 11 and verse 7. What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. So only the elect are going to receive the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, the true mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. You know, the deliverance, the destruction of America, all the different prophecies that are about to take place. To not take the Charagma, the MOTB, because you know what's going to come if you take it. You know the consequences. But only the elect are going to be given the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to not take it. Those who endure to the end shall be saved. Those who endure to the end are going to be delivered, because ultimately they were given this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. But only the 1/3 of the nation of Israel is going to receive those mysteries, are going to receive the true wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from up high, from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. But the rest of our people, the 2/3, they're not going to be given the truth. And that's ultimately why they're going to be destroyed, because they weren't given the fear of the Lord. They weren't given the fear of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. They weren't given the wisdom, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You know, but that's pretty much the point. Pray this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who all in this truth from the rule well. Peace hath tasted 144,000, and the rest of the 1/3. A large multitude unto you I say shalom.